Hello everyone. Welcome to our lesson on business English. Today, we are focusing on negotiations.
Hi Emma, I'm excited about this topic. Negotiations can really shape the outcome of any business deal.
Absolutely. It's all about reaching an agreement, right? Sometimes, it takes a good compromise.
Exactly. A compromise is often necessary to move forward. How do you approach a negotiation, Emma?
Well, I usually start by discussing the terms clearly. What about you, Jake?
I agree, clear terms are essential. I also think about my leverage in the situation.
Leverage? That's a great point. Could you explain what you mean by that?
Sure, leverage refers to the advantages I have during the negotiation. It helps me get better terms.
That's so true. Sometimes, one party has more power, which can lead to an unbalanced situation.
Right, and if neither side is willing to budge, it can result in a stalemate.
Yes, a stalemate can be frustrating. But making a concession can help break the deadlock.
Exactly. A concession shows that you're willing to meet the other party halfway.
Great introduction to the topic. Let's dive deeper into the grammar and structures we use in negotiations.
Good idea. What key structures should we cover today?
We can focus on phrases like, I am willing to, we can consider, and, what if we agree on?
Those sound essential. Can you give me an example?
Sure. For example, I am willing to make a concession on the price if you agree to better payment terms.
That's clear. Another example?
Of course. What if we agree on a longer delivery timeline for a lower cost? Can be useful too.
Exactly. It feels a lot more constructive.
Let's practice this in a dialogue. Are you ready to discuss a negotiation scenario?
Absolutely. Let's say we're negotiating a contract. I'll start. I'm glad we're discussing these terms today.
Yes, me too. I believe a solid agreement will benefit both of us.
Definitely. So, what about the price? I think we might need to make some compromises here.
I agree. If we can reach a compromise on that, I think we can move forward.
Okay, I'm thinking of what I can offer as leverage to make that happen.
That sounds good. What if I offer a concession on the quantity ordered?
That's a great idea. If you can increase the quantity, I will consider lowering the price.
Perfect. It really helps both sides. But what if we get to a stalemate?
In that case, we need to be open to discussing other terms of the agreement.
Absolutely. How about we revisit the payment terms if we hit a stalemate?
I like that. Flexibility can often unlock the negotiation.
Right. And we can either suggest alternatives or look for new information to strengthen our positions.
Exactly. I'm feeling really positive about this negotiation.
Me too. It's important to keep things collaborative.
Shall we move on to some examples to clarify? It's beneficial to use our new vocabulary.
Absolutely. Let's reinforce what we've learned with some new phrases.
Okay, so, I'll start with the context. If we make a compromise today, can we sign the contract this week?
Great. I would respond with, yes, but I need to review the terms first.
That's very clear. I could say, I have some leverage here since this is a competitive scenario.
Exactly. Using leverage can strengthen your position.
If I make a concession now, will you agree to my suggested timeline? Sounds effective as well.
Definitely. That prompts a response, which is key in negotiations.
So, if we reach a stalemate, what could we say?
You might say, how can we rethink this to avoid a stalemate?
That's inspiring. I really think our vocabulary will help us sound more professional.
I agree. Let's summarize the vocabulary for better retention.
Sounds great. What is the first word we should look at?
The first word is compromise. For example, we reached a compromise that benefited both parties.
Compromise is really about finding common ground. Another example could be, it's hard, but we must find a compromise to proceed.
And here's another one. The best negotiations result in a fair compromise.
That sums it up nicely. What's next?
Next is terms. For instance, let's clarify the terms before we finalize the deal.
Another good example of terms is the terms of sale were acceptable to both parties.
Exactly. One more could be, understanding the terms is crucial for a successful negotiation.
Perfect. It's essential to be clear on terms. What's next, Emma?
The next word is leverage. As an example, you have leverage by being the only supplier in this area.
Another example. Using leverage, she successfully negotiated lower prices.
Great. And another. He knew he had leverage since many clients wanted his services.
Great examples. What's our next word?
Next is concession. For example, they made a concession to keep the deal alive.
Making a concession can help build trust during negotiations, is a good one too.
And let's not forget, his concession allowed the negotiation to progress.
These examples are very helpful, Emma. What's our last word?
The last one is stalemate. For example, the negotiations reached a stalemate when neither side agreed.
An effective use of stalemate could be, to avoid a stalemate, we need to find a middle ground.
Perfect. And another could be, the discussion ended in stalemate due to conflicting interests.
This vocabulary in context really helps solidify my understanding.
Now, let's review with some practice questions.
Great. What's our first question?
What does compromise mean in negotiations?
It means finding a mutual agreement between two parties.
Exactly. Next, can you give me an example of how we might use leverage?
Sure. We use leverage when we have an advantage in the negotiation process.
Great. Here's another. What should you do if you reach a stalemate?
I should attempt to make a concession or suggest alternatives.
Excellent. And how can you ensure the terms are clear?
We should openly discuss and agree on all terms before finalizing.
Great job. Last question. Why are concessions important in negotiations?
They show willingness to cooperate and can help build relationships.
Well done, Jake. You did fantastic with those questions. To summarize, negotiations are vital in business.
Thanks, Emma. I learned a lot today. What's our next topic going to be?
Next time, we'll focus on business presentations. How to structure them effectively and use persuasive language.
Sounds exciting. I can't wait.